You want to know how to make any woman love you. Let's get one thing straight first. Love isn't something you get. It's something you earn through the psychology of presence, strength, and emotional intelligence. But here's the catch: most men think being nice, chasing, and over-giving will make her fall for them. That's not love. That's manipulation disguised as weakness. Real influence comes from understanding human nature, how we're wired, what we crave, and what we fear losing. So, if you want to tap into the psychology that makes a woman deeply attracted to you, it's not about playing games, it's about mastering yourself so she feels something she can't explain but can't ignore either. The first dark psychology trick: ass unpredictability. As most men are too predictable, they text the same way, act the same way, and reveal their cards too soon. The mind craves excitement and uncertainty. It's what triggers emotional attachment. When you create small moments of unpredictability, you disrupt her expectations. Don't always respond right away. Don't always say yes, and sometimes leave her hanging, not out of disrespect, but to remind her that your world doesn't orbit around her. When she realizes you're not easily read, she starts thinking about you more. And thinking is the seed of attraction. The second trick: as controlled detachment, as nothing drives desire like distance. When you pull back, when you become less accessible, less reactive, her mind starts to chase the connection. People value what they might lose, not what they always have. If you're too available, you become emotionally cheap. You have to show you're a man with direction, discipline, and standards. When she feels your presence but can't predict your next move, that's when attraction turns into obsession. The third one: ass-ender emotional contrast. Attraction isn't built on comfort, it's built on tension and release. You can't always be calm and agreeable. You need moments of edge, moments where she feels your intensity. Speak with passion, challenge her beliefs, make her feel alive. Then pull back, ground the moment with calm confidence. That swing between safety and thrill activates her emotions, and the emotional experience becomes associated with you. That's how deep psychological bonds are formed. The fourth: as silent power douse, most men over-explain themselves. They justify, they seek validation. But women feel power through presence, not words. When you can sit in silence, maintain eye contact, and let the tension build without breaking, that's power. The silence speaks louder than any pickup line. It communicates confidence, dominance, and control, all primal triggers of attraction. Fifth: mirror her emotional energy, not her words, her energy. When she's excited, match her. When she's calm, slow down. This creates subconscious harmony. She feels understood without knowing why. People fall in love with those who make them feel seen. The secret isn't to say what she wants to hear. It's to make her feel you're tuned into her emotional rhythm. That's emotional intelligence. And it's rare. The sixth: ask scarcity. What's rare becomes valuable. When she feels she could lose your time, your attention, or your presence, her psychology starts to prioritize you. That's why men who chase never win. They make themselves common. Stop giving constant access. Let her earn your time. When she realizes she's not guaranteed your attention, she'll work for it. And that investment is what deepens her attachment. And the last one: purpose. A man obsessed with his purpose becomes magnetic. When you have direction, goals, and a vision bigger than her, she feels it. It's primal. It tells her you're not a boy looking for validation. You're a man building an empire. That kind of energy makes her want to be a part of your story. Purpose is the ultimate dark psychology because it makes you emotionally independent. You stop needing her love to feel worthy, and ironically, that's when she gives it to you freely. So if you want any woman to love you, don't try to make her love you. Make yourself the kind of man whose presence demands it. Control your emotions, understand her psychology, and lead with confidence and depth. When you master that, you won't have to chase love. Love will chase you. Unpredictability is the silent art of influence, the psychological key that separates men who are remembered from those who are forgotten. When everything about you is predictable, your texts, your timing, your reactions, she stops feeling the emotional rush that attraction depends on. The human brain is wired to crave novelty and uncertainty. It's how we evolved to stay curious, alert, and engaged. So when you're too consistent in your attention, she unconsciously loses interest. You become safe, but not stimulating. And love, especially in its early stages, feeds on stimulation. Unpredictability doesn't mean playing childish games or manipulating her emotions. It means mastering the rhythm of your presence so she can't quite read you, but she can always feel you. When you show up differently each time, when your energy shifts from playful to mysterious, from present to slightly distant, she starts wondering who you really are. That wondering turns into fascination. Because the moment a woman starts thinking about you when you're not around, attraction deepens. The unpredictability makes her mind chase clarity, and that chase fuels desire. You have to understand that the female psyche thrives on emotional movement. If she always knows what you'll say or how you'll react, her emotions go flat. When you interrupt that pattern, when you surprise her with your timing, tone, or silence, you reignite her curiosity. And curiosity is the first step toward emotional attachment. Most men think consistency equals loyalty. And yes, consistency in values, integrity, and presence matters. But emotional consistency, always being the same, kills polarity. It turns the dynamic into comfort, not chemistry. The truth is, a woman doesn't want to figure you out entirely. She wants to keep discovering you. That's what makes her lean in, watch closer, and invest emotionally. So when she expects you to text back instantly, sometimes wait. When she assumes you'll always agree, challenge her. When she expects another compliment, stay silent and look at her instead. You're not withholding, you're creating space for anticipation. And anticipation is where desire grows. Unpredictability also communicates emotional control. It says you're not desperate for her attention, you're not performing to please her. You're grounded in your own world. That's magnetic, because in her subconscious mind, unpredictability equals dominance. It signals strength, confidence, and the ability to lead without needing approval. When she can't predict you, she pays attention. She studies your moves, your tone, your pauses. She invests emotionally, even if she doesn't realize it. That's the psychology of attraction at its core. What's uncertain feels alive. So you become unpredictable not by trying to be mysterious, but by being genuine and emotionally dynamic. You listen deeply, respond intuitively, and let the moment dictate your energy. Sometimes you're the storm, sometimes the calm. Sometimes you reach out first, sometimes you don't at all. You're always present, but never predictable. And that unpredictability keeps her emotionally awake, wanting to know more, to feel more, and to experience the next version of you. That's how fascination becomes connection, and connection becomes love. Controlled detachment is one of the most powerful psychological triggers of attraction because it communicates something most men never project: emotional independence. It's not about ignoring her or acting cold. It's about maintaining your sense of self no matter what's happening between you. When you master detachment, you stop sending the signal of neediness, and that changes everything. A woman can feel the energy of a man who needs her validation to feel worthy, and that energy repels her. But when she senses a man who enjoys her company yet doesn't depend on her for emotional balance, her instincts respond with curiosity, respect, and eventually desire. Detachment isn't about distance. It's about control over your emotions, your reactions, and your energy. When you become too available, too eager, or too focused on her, you unknowingly lower your value in her eyes. Human psychology values scarcity. We want what feels rare, what we can't easily possess. When a man gives constant access to his time and attention, he becomes emotionally abundant, and abundance kills desire. Controlled detachment works because it reminds her that your attention must be earned. It tells her you have standards, priorities, and a life that doesn't revolve around her. That subtle emotional gap keeps her intrigued. She starts to wonder where your focus is, what occupies your mind, and why you're not seeking her out like everyone else does. That wonder turns into pursuit. And pursuit is the foundation of attraction. But detachment doesn't mean withdrawal. It's not vanishing or playing hard to get. It's about being fully engaged when you're together, then calmly pulling back afterward without the need for reassurance. You don't chase conversations. You don't explain your silence. You simply return to your path, your purpose, your rhythm. That's how she feels your strength, not through how much attention you give, but through how little you require. Controlled detachment teaches her that your love, your time, and your focus are privileges, not entitlements. And that understanding creates respect, the kind that turns attraction into admiration. The most magnetic men are the ones who can be fully present, but emotionally untethered. They care deeply, but they never cling. They connect authentically, but they never attach their identity to the outcome. This balance drives a woman's mind wild because it's rare. She can feel your presence, but she can't fully claim it. That tension, the knowing and the not knowing, creates emotional gravity. She starts to crave your energy, your validation, and your attention, not because you give it constantly, but because you give it intentionally. Detachment also protects you. It keeps you from over-investing in someone who hasn't earned your emotional depth yet. It allows you to observe rather than react, to lead with confidence rather than desperation. And that shift changes the entire dynamic. She starts to feel lucky to have your attention, not the other way around. She respects your space, values your time, and feels the quiet dominance that comes from a man who's in control of himself. Controlled detachment is not about rejection. It's about mastery. It's the skill of giving just enough to spark desire, but never enough to lose your edge. Emotional contrast is the heartbeat of attraction, the rise and fall that makes a woman feel alive when she's around you. Without contrast, emotions flatline. And when emotions flatline, connection fades. Most men think being calm, kind, and agreeable all the time will make a woman feel safe enough to love them. But safety without excitement is boredom. What truly draws her in is the dynamic range of emotion you bring into her experience. The ability to shift from playful to serious, confident to vulnerable, intense to calm. It's the rhythm of unpredictability wrapped in authenticity. Because deep down, she doesn't fall for your words. She falls for how you make her feel. And the wider that emotional spectrum, the deeper her attachment becomes. When she's with you, she should feel both comfortable and challenged. You laugh with her, but you also challenge her thinking. You make her feel light, but also grounded. This mix of emotions keeps her on edge, not in a bad way, but in a way that makes her want more. Think of emotional contrast like fire and oxygen. One without the other dies out. If you're always the nice guy, you give her calm, but not thrill. If you're always intense, you give her thrill, but not safety. The power lies in your ability to create both. It's the emotional dance between tension and release that forges a bond she can't explain logically. When you speak with passion, when your energy rises with conviction, she feels your fire. When you soften your tone, look her in the eyes, and listen deeply, she feels your heart. That shift, that contrast, is magnetic. It's what keeps her emotionally invested. Because love isn't logical, it's chemical. And those chemicals react strongest when emotions fluctuate. It's not about manipulation, it's about being fully expressive. A man who can show strength and softness, leadership and empathy, dominance and warmth becomes unforgettable because he gives her something rare emotional variety without instability. Most men fear creating tension because they associate it with conflict. But tension, when used right, is attraction. It's the energy between what's said and unsaid, the space between closeness and distance. When you challenge her beliefs, tease her playfully, or hold eye contact a little longer than expected, you create a spark of tension that awakens her senses. Then, when you release that tension with a smile, a touch, or a reassuring word, her mind associates that emotional roller coaster with you. She starts craving it, not because of logic, but because it makes her feel alive. Emotional contrast also builds trust in a unique way. When she sees you handle both intensity and calm with composure, she feels safe in your presence. You're not one-dimensional, you're emotionally fluent. You can meet her in the chaos and lead her back to balance. That's leadership at a psychological level. It's control wrapped in emotional intelligence. A man who creates emotional contrast doesn't need to convince a woman to love him. She feels it in every moment, every shift, every pulse of emotion he brings into her world. And once she's felt that emotional depth, it's almost impossible for her to feel fulfilled anywhere else. Silent power is one of the rarest and most magnetic forms of attraction because it speaks without saying a word. It's the kind of energy that makes people turn their heads when you walk into a room, not because of what you do, but because of what you don't do. Most men waste their power by over-explaining, over-talking, and over-proving themselves. They think validation comes from words, when in reality, it comes from presence. A man who can hold silence with confidence sends a clear signal of inner strength. It tells her you're comfortable in your own energy. You don't need approval. You don't need to fill the space. And you don't need to perform to earn attention. That's what makes silence so powerful. It's control disguised as calm. When you can sit across from a woman, look her in the eyes, and say nothing without flinching, without breaking that energy, she feels something she can't explain. It's primal. It's a silent assertion of dominance, composure, and self-trust. You're showing her without words that you're not here to chase or convince. You're simply being. And that kind of stillness creates tension, the good kind. Because silence makes the other person feel. It forces them to fill the space, to lean in, to wonder what's behind that calm exterior. That wonder turns into intrigue, and intrigue turns into attraction. Silent power doesn't mean being emotionless or cold. It means knowing when to speak and when to let your energy do the talking. You don't argue to prove a point, you hold your ground with composure. You don't overreact to provocation. You observe, assess, and respond only when necessary. Every reaction you don't give adds weight to the ones you do. That restraint is what separates men of presence from men of noise. And a woman can feel that difference instantly. Because when a man controls his words, he controls the frame. He's not pulled into her emotions, he invites her into his. Emotional intelligence plays a massive role in this. You learn to mirror her tone, not her chaos. If she's soft, you soften. If she's playful, you match her rhythm. But if she's testing your boundaries, you don't escalate, you anchor. You show that no matter how the energy shifts, you remain grounded. That steadiness builds trust because it tells her she can be emotional without losing you to your own. Silent power creates emotional polarity. You're calm. She's expressive. You're still. She moves. That contrast generates chemistry, not through words, but through energy. Women don't fall for what a man says. They fall for how they feel around him. And silence, when used with confidence, creates the kind of emotional tension that lingers long after you've left. It makes her remember your presence, your composure, your eyes that didn't waver. Because true confidence isn't about being loud or assertive. It's about having nothing to prove. The man who speaks less but radiates certainty has already won her attention before he says a single word. Purpose is the core of masculine energy. It's the silent force that makes a man magnetic without even trying. When you know where you're going in life, when you're building something bigger than yourself, it changes the way you move, speak, and think. You stop chasing validation because you're too focused on evolution. You stop needing attention because you're immersed in intention. And that shift, when your focus turns from needing love to building purpose, creates a gravitational pull that people, especially women, can feel. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You become someone who radiates direction, and direction is power. A man with purpose doesn't wake up wondering what he should do. He wakes up knowing why he's doing it. Every action he takes has weight. Every decision serves a vision. That clarity builds confidence, and confidence is one of the most powerful psychological triggers of attraction. A woman instinctively feels drawn to a man who moves with direction because it signals stability, leadership, and strength. She feels that his energy isn't scattered, it's focused. That focus tells her she can trust him, not because he says so, but because his actions prove it. Purpose gives a man emotional structure, and that structure becomes the foundation of his presence. When a man doesn't have purpose, he gets lost in relationships. He starts revolving around the woman instead of revolving around his mission. That's when attraction fades because she can feel that he's looking to her to fill the emptiness that only purpose can fill. Women aren't attracted to men who make them the center of their world. They're attracted to men who invite them to join their world. There's a difference. The first comes from need, the second from strength. Purpose gives you something to protect, to fight for, to build. It gives your energy direction. And when you live in alignment with it, everything about you becomes more attractive, your confidence, your discipline, even your silence. Having purpose also keeps your emotions balanced. You stop reacting impulsively because you have bigger things to focus on. You don't waste time proving yourself in petty arguments or chasing people who don't see your worth. You're too busy creating, evolving, becoming. And that calm sense of focus makes you magnetic. A woman feels safe around a man who knows where he's headed because he's not easily shaken. His priorities are clear, his actions intentional, his vision unshakable. She can feel the depth of his ambition and the steadiness of his direction. That's when she naturally begins to admire him, not because he demanded her attention, but because he earned it through who he's becoming. Purpose transforms you from a man who seeks love to a man who attracts it. It makes you whole. When you're driven by something greater than temporary emotions, you stop chasing connection and start creating it through your energy and presence. You become the kind of man a woman doesn't just love, she respects, supports, and believes in. Because when your life has direction, your love has depth. And that depth is what makes her want to walk beside you, not ahead of you, not behind you, but with you. At the end of it all, the truth is simple. Love isn't something you manipulate your way into. It's something you become worthy of through the man you choose to be. Every dark psychology trick, every mindset shift, every layer of emotional awareness, all of it leads to one core truth. Power begins with self-mastery. When you learn to control your emotions, respect your energy, and lead your life with purpose, you stop chasing affection and start attracting connection. The moment you stop trying to make someone love you and start becoming someone they can't forget, everything changes. Because love built on depth, confidence, and authenticity doesn't fade. It grows stronger with time. So take these lessons not as tactics, but as tools. Tools to understand human behavior, to elevate yourself, and to build real emotional power. When you stand in your truth, when you lead with presence, and when you live with direction, you don't just attract love, you inspire it. That's how you become the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen because he already knows his worth. Thank you for listening, for showing up with the intention to grow, and for daring to understand the deeper psychology of attraction and influence. Keep evolving, keep mastering yourself, and remember, when you build yourself first, love naturally follows.